Hey, welcome back to this video series where I rank all the movies I saw each month that I haven't previously talked about on this channel. I saw 9 new movies in February, and I'm gonna rank and talk about each one. So without further ado...
Participation Award.
Okay, this movie isn't very good, but I am kinda glad I watched it. It gets kinda boring talking about good stuff all the time. Animal Farm 1999 was kinda painful to sit through, honestly. It's a TV movie, so it's only an hour and a half, but it feels like that's the problem. The original book is very slow-paced and has so many great moments where the story takes a breather, but this one never gives you time to breathe. This movie should have been 2 whole hours long, at least. They try to cram so much into so little time that it's kind of annoying. Like, the story is about animals revolting against their abusive owner, right? But we never even really see him be abusive. There was exactly one scene where he beat a horse a little, and later he doesn't feed the animals when he should. I guess this will make animal lovers hate him with every fiber of their being, but too bad for the rest of us, I guess. The puppets are all very well done, the Jim Henson Company did a great job as always, but the design is only 1/3 of a movie character. We also need good writing and acting. This movie does not have those things. Patrick Stewart gave one of the better vocal performances because at least he knows how to act. Which isn't to say he gave a great performance, he sounded bored and out of place when he was yelling, but that could be just because I've only ever heard him be soft-spoken and kind-sounding. I've never even heard of most of the rest of the cast, and I think that was not a good thing. One of the dogs is the main character in this, and her voice actress is fine, but unfortunately she's also the narrator. See, they needed a narrator because this movie moves through the story so fast that we need everything explained to us to make sure we know what's happening. Like, here, Napoleon is just kind of evil from the beginning, even though the whole point of the book was the political corruption took time. The camera work is kind of spotty at times as well. There's a sex scene that probably takes the award for most pointless sex scene in all of cinema. Like, it never came up after that, and we already knew the farmer was a drunken party animal, so what was the point? What did this accomplish? The answer is nothing. This movie feels like it wants to be so much more, but what with it being a TV movie, the fact that it's only 90 minutes, and the pitifully small budget meant that this was as good as it could be. What else is there to say? There's another farmer who looks exactly like Hitler. Okay. Oh, yeah, the ending. Yeah, the ending is the main dog saying she can't tell the difference between the pigs and the farmers, and then it cuts to her and her family romping around in a sunny field with happy music playing. What? Yeah, this is really the icing on the cake that shows this movie so desperately needed to be longer. I haven't seen the 1954 version, but I'm gonna say it's better than this.
I believe I can fly.
How to Train Your Dragon is basically just E.T., but good. And with Vikings. That's about all you need to know. Gonna be honest, this movie got quite a bit worse for me on rewatch. It's still like a 7 out of 10 at least, though. It's a pretty generic zero-to-hero story, but it's also mashed up with the kid finds a lost, non-speaking creature and befriends it trope. And I'd say it works pretty well. The rest of the characters are where this movie really shines. Stoic, Gabber, and Astrid all have great moments and arcs, especially Stoic. His arc about acceptance is great, but feels a little rushed. He actually gets more interesting in the sequels, but we'll get to those. The other Viking student characters, played by random celebrities, are pretty funny, but also pretty disposable as characters. They had nothing whatsoever, except maybe that they're there to show that no one likes Hiccup, but the rest of Berk already did that. But they are funny. The animation is actually really impressive for 2010 when you consider what other animated films were being made that year. Which isn't to say those movies look atrocious or anything, but this movie just looks a heck of a lot better. Hiccup is a pretty decent protagonist, and he gets a lot better in this movie after you watch the third movie, but I don't know. I really want to love this movie, but the others are just so much better in every way that it's kind of hard. This is a good enough starter to a fantastic trilogy, but absolutely pales in comparison to its successors.
I'm a beekeeper.
The Bee Movie, well, you see, it's the greatest movie I've ever seen in my life. Well, okay, maybe not the greatest, but it's right up there with Spider-Man 3 and the Minecraft movie, which, fun fact, also happens to be on this list. This movie is not for the weak-minded. Its genius is misunderstood in its own time. Instead of the meme that plebeians perceive it as, it is a biting commentary on the nature of love, politics, and propaganda. The bees represent all the people who, have, the things they work really hard to make taken away suddenly. And the humans represent the people taking said things away. And then there's the super compelling romance between Barry and this human lady, Vanessa, and her ex-boyfriend, Ken, is incredibly jealous. It then becomes a cautionary tale of what can happen when you steal someone's girlfriend. Ken and Barry's relationship becomes colored with resentment, which soon turns to hatred. He tries to kill Barry, and after defeating Ken, Barry and Vanessa have a happy relationship together, and they defeat communism. Okay, but on a serious note, this is actually one of my favorite comedies of all time, and I wish more people would give it the credit it deserves. Yeah, the story sucks, but the story isn't the point of the movie. It's just framework for the humor, which, by the way, is superb. All the voice actors and their characters are so funny in their own ways. This floors me with its timing, preposterousness, and complete hilarity. Nothing about the story or world building makes any sense, which just makes the movie that much funnier. There are so many celebrity cameos that are used right. With a lot of celebrity cameos in movies, they're just kind of there for a second, and we as an audience are expected to laugh. But here, the celebrities actually do funny things. Ray Liotta was my favorite. I hadn't even heard of him before this movie, and I don't intend to watch any of his other films, but he is hilarious here. Yeah, this really is just the comedy to end all comedies. Its hilarity is positively deafening.
A simulated world where you explore, mine resources, and work with friends to build replicas of real buildings. Can you die in it?
No!
The Garrett the Garbage Man movie is another one of the greatest comedies ever made. I will not say it is a good movie. I won't even say it's a good Minecraft movie. But what I will say is that it's a hilarious movie. Jack Black and Jason Momoa have such great comedic chemistry here that it's insane. Actually, that's a good term to describe this whole movie. Insane. There are only like 3 characters who you can confidently say are in their right mind, which is awesome. It's not quite as funny as the B movie, but it has some great action set pieces, which elevates it ever so slightly above that film. This movie is mostly just Jack Black being Jack Black with some random Minecraft references thrown in, and it works beautifully somehow. And also Jason Momoa. I genuinely had no idea he could be this funny. Me and my friend obsess over his character as a meme because his dry humor, line delivery, and just general vibe are hysterical. Like, he's really into video games and junk food, but he's also super buff. Like, come on, man! The only parts I don't like about this movie are when it tries to take itself seriously. Like, you're really good at being funny and not at being serious, so just be funny all the time, and most of the complaints lodged against this movie will be completely invalid. Yeah, I don't know what else to say. Well, besides the fact that I heard a voice other than Dan Lloyd's come out of a villager's mouth, that happens at the end, and it kind of ruins the movie for me, honestly. But I'll still rewatch you every once in a while. Minecraft movie, you dastardly son of a gun, you.
Use magic. Magic?
I'm sure you've seen Harry Potter. Everybody has. I've actually gotten some grief over the years for not having seen the Harry Potter movies, but now I finally caught up with the rest of the world and watched the first one. Yeah, it's pretty good. The performances from the child actors are mostly pretty good for child actors, and overall the cast is just very strong. The CGI on all the magic is very good for 2001, and the story is kind of meandering and episodic at times, but that's just kind of the vibe of the franchise. Just like school in real life, all these seemingly unrelated escapades happen, and then not like school in real life, they all lead up to one big thing. All the main characters are pretty likable and charming, and have great chemistry with each other. It's very simple, and I'll bet I'll enjoy it more after I watch the sequels. But yeah, like, come on, it's Harry Potter. How you really gonna hate Harry Potter?
I'll be the racist dragon.
How to Train Your Dragon 3 is much better than the first, not quite as good as the second, but still great. It definitely has the best villain of the trilogy, being a mirror of Hiccup, since when he found a Night Fury in the woods, he killed it. His dynamic with Hiccup has more weight to it than Hiccup's dynamic with his mom. Speaking of which, I do really like his mom in this. I love her relationship with Astrid, and how she gives her advice on how to move forward in her relationship with Hiccup, and how she actually sticks around after the second movie. I feel like most kids' movies would have had her have to stay with her dragons or whatever just because they needed some tension in the climax, but she actually stayed, which is wonderful. There's a flashback in this movie where Stoic gives maybe the most heartfelt and powerful quote about love I've ever heard. Like, listen to this.
But with love comes loss, son. It's part of the deal. Sometimes it hurts, but in the end, it's all worth it.
There was no reason to go that hard and deep with that, and it makes me completely buy Stoic's love for his wife. My only real problem with this movie is Toothless. I'm gonna be real, I could not get invested in his relationship with this Lady Night Fury. I mean, he just follows her around, embarrasses himself, and she flies off, and then she learns to like him. It's kinda cool when they fly around in the thunderstorm and meet all the other dragons, but like, neither of them have any personality whatsoever, so what was I supposed to be rooting for here? You can't have a compelling romance with characters who don't speak and have no personality. It worked once in WALL-E, but that was because they both had characters and did speak a couple occasional words. These two do not. I guess you needed the two of them to have a relationship because they're the alphas or whatever, but they didn't need this much screen time. They do lead to one of the most emotional and bittersweet endings in all of DreamWorks history, though, so I guess they made up for it. The side characters played by random celebrities are still pretty funny, and I like how the TJ Miller Viking kept trying to teach Hiccup about romance, like as if he would know. That was funny. I don't know, you guys. TJ Miller might not be a good person in real life, but he's way too funny for that. Somebody get him some therapy or something so he can start acting again. We all need him back.
Whoever finds this, my car is alive, okay?
Cars is the most underrated movie in Pixar's entire canon. I will admit, there are many problems with it. Yes, the world building is not great, but I adore this movie anyway. I might be blinded by nostalgia here, but this movie slaps 21 years later, and I don't understand how people dislike it. From the very first scene, it completely hooks you with its gripping portrayal of racing. I hope whoever animated these racing scenes got a raise, because it makes you feel like you are one of these racers. You're going the exact same speed as them, and you feel like if you look away for even a second, you'll spin out and crash. In fact, the animation here is generally just one of the best aspects of the movie, in my opinion. This movie came out between Ratatouille and The Incredibles, and it's an obvious technical bridge between the two. Just look at the rounded reflections on the cars. Do you know how long this must have taken? This movie became the new standard for hyper-realistic animation. Prove me wrong. Lightning McQueen is one of the best examples of a protagonist who's both likable and unlikable, being relatively selfish and egotistical at the beginning, but also charming and charismatic enough to still root for him. I love how his arc in Radiator Springs is gradual and doesn't just happen in a snap. His relationships with Sally, Doc, and Mater are all strong and compelling. The scene where Lightning finds the piston cups in Doc's garage and has a conversation with him is so well done. You appreciate how Doc is putting Lightning in his place and calling out how selfish he is, but then you also feel bad for Lightning because by this point in the story, he's not really that car anymore. And during the Life Could Be a Dream sequence, Lightning's arc and what he's done for the town really just makes you crack a smile. Oh my gosh, I haven't even gotten into the original songs yet. Real Gone is one of the greatest Southern American rock songs I've ever heard. Gosh, I love country rock. Rascal Flatts' cover of Life is a Highway is an awesome travel ballad. Our Town is incredibly powerful and sad from the perspective of someone who's had to move twice. Find Yourself is a great backdrop for honoring Joe Ranft, longtime Pixar animator and screenwriter, and John Mayer doing Route 66 fits super well. And like I said, Life Could Be a Dream fits as well as a song possibly could in its scene. Randy Newman continues the streak of home runs with the rest of the score. And Chick Hicks, played by Michael Keaton. He is epic and I will not be denied. Just wish he was in the movie more. All the voice actors are pretty decent, especially Paul Newman and Michael Keaton, who both positively kill it. Seriously, go rewatch this movie and tell me it's not at least a 7 out of 10 now.
The knight who was taught to save dragons instead of kill them.
How to Train Your Dragon is the rare film trilogy where the second movie is the best, and the others can never quite measure up to it. The others are still great, but the second blows them away with its quality. This is true for trilogies such as Toy Story and probably the original Star Wars trilogy, but I haven't seen that in forever, so maybe I need to revisit those. But How to Train Your Dragon 2 is quite simply the perfect way to continue the story, or maybe it's just a really great movie on its own. Probably both. Stoic is one of my favorite DreamWorks characters because of this movie. He's so much more interesting in this than the first movie, which says a lot. Like I said, this movie gets even better after you watch the third one, but even without that, it rocks. Hiccup finding his mom is a really inspired choice from a storytelling perspective, and she's a pretty interesting character. Cate Blanchett is really giving it her all, voicing her, and her backstory about needing to stay with the dragons because she feels the rest of the world will never understand that dragons don't need to be feared is heartbreaking. The villain of this one isn't quite as strong as you would hope. He's just kind of a generic warlord who happens to be able to control dragons, but he still serves his purpose and gets a few pretty solid scenes. Also, the side characters played by random celebrities still exist, and they give Rough Nut a subplot about having a crush on this hot Tabor dragon guy who also exists for some reason, and it ultimately goes nowhere, and why am I mentioning this? It kind of adds nothing and frustrates me every time I see it. Anyway, this movie's really good, I swear. The climax where Hiccup is forced to fight mind-controlled Toothless and Stoic takes the beam for Hiccup and dies is really powerful and strong, especially when you realize how little time Stoic and Vulca got together after they lost each other. And then you think back to that scene where they danced together, and it really just makes you tear up, because it was the only great moment they made together after they reunited. This is a very simple movie, and much like Spider-Man 2 or something, where the simplicity works in its favor. There's not much else to say, so yeah, this movie is very, very good, and the entire trilogy is absolutely worth watching.
This right here is my favorite thing, ever. In the history of forever.
Transformers as a franchise is pretty much expected to be terrible. After 6 Michael Bay movies that are, to my understanding, I only saw the first 2, nothing but 2 hours of explosions and CGI each. I thought the first movie in that series was pretty decent compared to its reputation. The second one took a bit of a nosedive and deterred me from watching any of the others, and after that experience, I knew exactly which Transformers movie was the best. Transformers 1. Not that one, the one with the where the one is a word in the title, and it's not a number, it's a word, O-N-E. This is one of those movies where you know it's probably only like a 7 or maybe 8 out of 10, but you treat it like a 9 out of 10. This movie was actually the reason I picked up the live-action Transformers movies, because I wanted to continue the story so badly. The characters, animation, villain, and story are all so fantastic here that it's kinda hard not to love it. The characters are the best part of this, Orion Pax and D16 oddly enough being the best. I usually don't like the main characters best in fiction, but this movie pulled it off. Sentinel Prime also made for a fantastic villain. Slimy, but also scary. His backstory about betraying the other Primes is terrifying when you first hear it. I love how good he looks on the outside, but is actually rotten to the core. And he's so over-the-top unlikable that you really do want D16 to tear him in half at the end. The action and fight scenes in this are so fluid, and the metallic animation style complements this perfectly. D16's slow burn fall from grace is so captivating and impossible to look away from. His fight with the Steve Buscemi Transformer is especially gripping, and I got chills when Steve Buscemi's voice got all glitchy as he egged D16 on. Like, I didn't even know that could happen to a Transformer. That's not even, like, related. It's just a really cool detail and feature of the world building that I would have loved to see explored more in this universe. The climax where D16 becomes Megatron, kills Sentinel, and attempts to let Orion die is both heartbreaking and relieving, and when Orion completes his character arc by becoming Optimus Prime and banishing Megatron is likewise both sad and triumphant, because, like, you don't want to see D16 become Megatron. He and Orion were such great friends, like, that's heartbreaking. The voice acting is mostly pretty strong, especially from Chris Hemsworth, Brian Tyree Henry, and Steve Buscemi. Scarlett Johansson started out kind of annoying, but I warmed up to her. Or maybe it was just that her character was kind of annoying, I don't know. Keegan-Michael Key sounded really obnoxious as Bumblebee in theory, but he wasn't that bad. He got quite a few chuckles out of me, except from the Badassatron joke. That was only funny at the very end, and not even like that funny, just polite chuckle funny. I think it could have worked a lot better if he had actually done something super cool and turned into like a completely different person for a second while he was fighting and pulling out cool stunts and then made the joke, but whatever. Yeah, Scarlett Johansson's character wasn't too bad after a while, but the only thing she really added to the story was the pep talk she gave Orion after the High Guard and D16 got captured, as well as a couple jokes, but otherwise she wasn't particularly helpful to the story. But yeah, this movie is just plain awesome. Do yourself a favor and watch it if you haven't already.